Hello detectives, and welcome to my video for November. Now the first thing I want to say to you is that my Death in the Spotlight tour has gone really well. Thank you so much to everyone who's come out and met me so far. I have just a few more events left this year before I break for Christmas, and they are as follows. On the 30th of November, I will be in Kinross for the Kinrossshire Festival. On the 1st of December, I will be at Durham Waterstones and then Carlisle Waterstones. On the 2nd of December, I will be at Harrogate Waterstones and Leeds Waterstones. And then on the 6th of December, I will be at Waterstones Piccadilly in London for their Christmas author evening. That will be my last event of the year, but don't worry if I haven't come to your town or city yet. I'll be starting up events again in the new year. I'll have lots of events for you in 2019, Birmingham and Manchester especially. I have heard you, I know you want me to come visit you, and I'm going to do my best to do that in 2019. The next thing I want to tell you is that Book 8, Daisy and Hazel's 8th murder mystery, is getting a little bit closer to being finished. I've just handed in the first draft to my editor and she's reading it right now. She'll give me notes and I'll go back and edit the book, and we'll do that a couple more times in the next few months. The book is coming out in August 2019, so August next year, which seems like a long way away, but when you remember that I have to go through about 5 or 6 more drafts of this book before it is absolutely perfect, that is no time at all. It's going to fly by. I don't yet know what Book 8 is going to be called. I do know what colour the cover is going to be, but I can't tell you that until the new year. So look out for that in probably January or February and get your guesses in now. What cover colour could Book 8 be? We have had most of the colours in the rainbow so far, but there are just a few more. I am thrilled with how it looks. I really like my first draft. There's a long way to go. It's not there yet, but I like the mystery I've written. I like what I've written about Daisy and Hazel and Lavinia, Kitty and Beanie, who are back in this book. It was really fun to be back at Deep Dean, and I can't wait for you to read it in August 2019. Now, it's been a busy November for me, but I have found time to read, and I'm going to share with you 5 of the books I particularly enjoyed this month. My first choice is from a series and an author that you may recognize from earlier videos, and that is Wundersmith by Jessica Townsend. Now, Wundersmith is the sequel to another book, Nevermore by Jessica, and I have already reviewed this book and raved about it last year at about this time. It's really unusual for me to be talking about the sequel to a book that I've already done, but this book and this series is so special that I could not ignore it. Wundersmith picks up pretty much where Nevermore left off. Morgan Crow, the main character, also known as Mog, has just gained her heart's desire. She's been allowed into the Wonder Society, a secret magical society of people just like her. She thinks she's finally going to make friends and find a family that she's never really had in her life before. But unfortunately for Mog, things do not go her way. She turns up at her new magical school on the first day to discover she's got a timetable unlike anyone else's. And she also finds out that almost everyone in the society seems really frightened of her and what she can do. Because Mog is a Wundersmith. Now, Wundersmiths are almost legendary, extremely feared magicians. They haven't been seen for generations. In fact, there's only one alive right now, and his name is Ezra Squall, and he is somebody who is terrorizing the city of Nevermore, where Mog and her friends live. Mog is the only other Wundersmith, and everyone expects she is going to turn evil, basically. Mog feels like she's not evil. She feels like she really wants to prove herself and show that she is a good person, but nobody will believe her. Is Mog really evil? And how will she triumph over her enemies and save the day? That is the plot of this book. It's fantastic. The writing is wonderful. Jess Townsend is a really, really accomplished writer. She makes you really care about all her characters. She makes you really believe in the world of Nevermore that she's created. And it is that world that makes this book so exciting, makes this series so special. Nevermore is one of the most beautifully realized magical worlds I've ever read about. It's a place that I desperately want to go. I want to go live in the Deucalion Hotel with Mog and her friends. This, as I say, is really a very special book and a very special series. You will love it if you loved Harry Potter, if you love big, rich, magical worlds, big, epic stories, and heroines who are not just perfect. Mog is a bit mean, she's a bit rude at times, she's not the nicest girl, but that is great. That makes me really want to root for her because she is imperfect in the way that a lot of real people are. She feels very flawed and normal. This is for anyone, I would say, 10 plus. November 2018 is the centenary of the armistice, which is what we call the end of World War I, the moment when all of the different countries fighting World War I signed a treaty to agree to ceasefire because it was really going nowhere. Now, World War I is something that I was taught about a lot in my history classes, but all the same, I'm not sure I really understood it until I started reading more fiction and more true accounts of what actually went on during World War I, because it is just so massively awful. It's so unknowably shocking. So many people died in World War I for what seems now to really have been very little. There are lots of really great books about World War I and the effect it had on real people, and I think that Hilary McKay's new book, The Skylarks War, is one of the best ones that has come out this year. The Skylarks War starts off at the very beginning of the 20th century, and it follows a family of 3 children, Clary, her older brother Peter, and her cousin Rupert. Now, Clary and Peter have a really fairly miserable life. Their father ignores them, doesn't seem to like them very much, after his wife, their mother, died giving birth to Clary. And their cousin Rupert also has a pretty miserable existence. But they all get together at their grandparents' Cornwall house every summer, and that is the happiest times of their lives. That is really what they all live for. And we follow the 3 children getting older and older until in 1914, when they are teenagers, World War I breaks out. And this story follows what happens to the 3 children as they get older and older and as they're having to live through the 4 years of World War I. Clary and Peter don't go off to fight, Rupert does, and so we see the war both from the perspective of a soldier and the perspective of the people having to stay at home and just hear what was happening, or not hear, as the case may be, because a lot of World War I was kind of kept from the people who weren't soldiers, hidden, because it was just so horrible. This is a really beautifully written book. Hilary McKay is a fantastic writer. I've been reading her books since I was a kid, and this is another wonderful book from her. It's a beautiful and well-researched look into this time in history. It's done very well. It really comes alive, I think, and Clary and Peter and Rupert are all fantastic characters. You will really enjoy this book if you're interested in history, if you want to know a bit more about World War I and what happened around that time, if you want to know stuff about suffragettes and all of the other issues and things that people were worrying about at that point, definitely read this book. I would say this is perfect for anyone 12 plus. The next book I've chosen is definitely not historical. It is Furthermore by Tahereh Mafi. Now, this is the first of Tahereh's books I have read. I was recommended it by my friend Kieran Millwood-Hargrave, who is another fantastic author who I really like. She thought that I would enjoy this book, and she was completely right. I was absolutely hooked on it, and it's one of my favourite books I think that I've read for quite a while. Furthermore is set in a wonderful magical land called Fernwood, and that is where the main character Alice lives. Fernwood is the most incredible creation. It's a place where colour is magic, and the more colourful, the brighter you are, the more magical you are. Now, Alice has a problem because she's the only person in Fernwood to be completely white. There's no colour on her anywhere apart from her eyes, which are a nice gold colour. And she's miserable. She really feels left out from Fernwood's magic, and she's waiting for a day that she can prove how wonderful she really is and win the right to do a really important task. There is something she really wants to do, which is find her father. He has gone mysteriously missing years before, and she just knows that if she proves how magical she really is, she will somehow find a way to him. This is the most imaginative, most beautifully written book. I was totally stunned by Tahereh's imagination, by the stuff she comes up with. It's just incredible. I love the world she paints. I love how creepy and wonderful the story is, how much it twists and turns, how clever and funny it is. I think you will love this book. If you like fantasy stories, if you liked Alice in Wonderland and you want to read a really imaginative retelling of it, I would say this is perfect for anyone 12 plus. The next book I have chosen is a book of poetry, and it is For Everyone by Jason Reynolds. Now, Jason Reynolds is a very famous American author. He writes young adult fiction, YA, he writes children's fiction, and he also writes poetry. He is incredibly talented. And this is a really beautiful little book of a poem that he wrote about inspiration and about following your dreams. It's really short. It's something you can read in about 5 to 10 minutes, but it will stay with you for months afterwards. It is all about following your dreams, all about not giving up, all about believing in yourself, things that whether we want to be an astronaut or an author, we all need to hear. We all need to push ourselves. Sometimes we struggle, sometimes we don't think we're good enough, sometimes we feel like other people are doing better than us. And these are all things that Jason addresses really beautifully in this poem. This is another book from the fantastic inclusive publishers Knights of, and it is another really fabulous one. It's designed by Marseille, who is brilliant. She's a really great designer, and as you can see, it looks lovely inside as well as having really special words in it. So this is a book that looks good inside and out and is really good as well. I would say this is perfect for you if you like authors like Sarah Crossan, if you love poetry, if you really want to be something and want to do something with your life, but you're not quite sure how to go about it. This is for you. In fact, this is for everyone watching this video. And finally, I always end these videos by choosing one book that I loved when I was younger and that I think you will love as well. And this month, the choice was really easy because I have chosen the 30th anniversary edition of Roald Dahl's Matilda. Now, I am 30 and I grew up reading this book. I did not realize that it is exactly as old as I am, but it is. So Matilda was also born in 1988, just like me. I loved this story when I was a child. I loved the character Matilda. She is so brave, even though she is small. She proves you don't have to be big and important to make a difference in the world. But I also love her because she's so naughty. She does bad things. She thinks bad thoughts. She's not perfect. And that was really comforting for me. She loves books and reading. She's an unashamed nerd, but she gets what she wants. She goes out there and solves her own problems, and I think that makes her a really special heroine, someone who I think really still speaks to us today in the same way that she did 30 years ago. This is a lovely new edition from Penguin Random House, and it has a new front cover illustration by the illustrator of Matilda, Quentin. Now this is absolutely the text that I read when I was younger. It's not changed a word. All the illustrations inside are the same, but the only difference is that there are these 3 new beautiful illustrations by Quentin that you can collect. There's one of Matilda being a world traveler, there's one of her being an astrophysicist, and there's one of her working at the British Library. And these are all things that Quentin thought that she might be age 30. And I love the thought of Matilda growing up my own age and doing something really cool with her life. So this is a very special book to buy as a nostalgia read because you loved it when you were younger and now you're old like me. This is also a really good book to buy if you've never read Matilda before and you would like to get into the story. I think it would make a really nice Christmas present if you're thinking very far ahead. This book is perfect for anyone who loves reading about strong, bold heroes, who loves books and reading, who loves really fantastic, funny stories about naughty, brilliant children. This book is perfect for anyone 5 or 6 plus to be read to or to read it yourself, and there is not an upper age limit. I read it again this month just to remind myself how great it was, and it is still really, really great. The musical is also wonderful. It's currently running in London, and if you haven't been to see it yet, Tim Minchin's fantastic music and lyrics, you should definitely go and see it because it's great, and it's a great addition to this story. So that's all for November. I hope you've had a wonderful month. If you are American or you have American family or friends, I hope you have a wonderful time celebrating Thanksgiving. This year I'm off to America myself to spend Thanksgiving with my American family, and I am so excited. I will be back in December for what is going to be my final video of 2018, but until then, goodbye.